Dakar. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar. Good evening and welcome to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Here are our top stories. Senegal Prime Minister Sonko presents economic recovery plan replacing the emergent Senegal plan implemented by Macky Sall.
C'est de tourner définitivement.
It's about definitively shifting the gears from an old model to a new one. The entire structure of this plan responds to that need, to this strong choice of asserting our national sovereignty and making efforts through our own means.
Benin Republic marks its 65th independence anniversary with a grand military parade alongside the Ivorian Armed Forces. The National Association of Nurses and Midwives in Nigeria calls off its 7-day warning strike over poor working conditions.
They have agreed to call off the strike, put the Nigerian patient at the center of our attention, and we encourage all health workers to adopt the same pro-social collaborative approach to lean in to iron out very long-standing issues.
And the United Nations Children's Fund sounds alarm over an imminent cholera outbreak across 12 West Africa and Central African nations. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Christopher Aticho with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. This edition of Newslink begins in Senegal as an economic roadmap has been presented to the country. Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko presented the government economic recovery plan, which essentially aims to improve the conditions of the Senegalese people. Sonko's document officially replaces the emergent Senegal plan implemented by former President Macky Sall. The all-encompassing blueprint also outlines several measures purposely designed to address some emerging social challenges that Senegal faces, including unemployment. Here is Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko.
C'est de tourner définitivement le braquet d'un modèle ancien vers un modèle nouveau.
It's about definitively shifting the gears from an old model to a new one. This is a prerequisite for the momentum and acceleration that these reforms will generate, making them one of the priorities of the first 5-year term. The entire structure of this plan responds to that need, to this strong choice of asserting our national sovereignty and making efforts through our own means. We cannot, 65 years later, continue waiting for salvation from outside. We want to overcome this inherited situation without increasing public debt. We want to do it without selling off our natural and land resources. We want to do it without imposing too many additional taxes on investors that would harm our country's attractiveness. 90% of resources are expected to come from mobilizing endogenous resources without incurring debt. Within the APO household framework, we have a larger offering of social goods and services. I am referring to services related to health, education, higher education, social housing, access to education and water. It is also about continuing to make the cost of living affordable for our fellow citizens.
Rendre le coût de la vie abordable pour nos concitoyens.
Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko. Elsewhere, Benin Republic today marked its 65th independence anniversary. The celebration entertained a colorful grand military parade marked earlier in the day at Place the Amazon in Cotonou in a solemn atmosphere and under heavy surveillance. Marching alongside Beninese troops was a detachment of the Ivorian Armed Forces, illustrating the active security cooperation between the two countries. Imo Edit completes the story.
The 65th independence anniversary of Benin began with a grand military parade under the theme "Defense and Security Forces at the Forefront of Citizen Enthusiasm for a Safe and Prosperous Benin." At the opening ceremony, Colonel Johnson's spokesperson for the Beninese army praised the ongoing military reforms, which include an 18% increase in the defense budget, modernization of equipment, the introduction of a new military uniform, and the launch of major infrastructure projects such as a new defense and security city. However, the parade was notably marked by the absence of military representatives from Burkina Faso and Niger, despite having received formal invitations. Their absence casts a shadow over what was intended to be a symbol of regional unity, highlighting ongoing diplomatic strains between Cotonou and its Sahelian neighbors. This tension comes just days before what could be President Patrice Talon's final Independence Day celebration in office. On July 20, government spokesperson Wilfred Lender-Hungbeji confirmed that 4 countries had been invited to take part in the festivities, including Burkina Faso and Niger, both members of the Alliance of Sahel States. The silence of Burkina Faso and Niger follows a deadly jihadist attack in Alibori barely 3 months earlier, which claimed the lives of 54 Beninese soldiers. In the aftermath, the Beninese government pointed to a lack of security coordination with its northern neighbors, asserting that insufficient cross-border collaboration enabled the attack, which was later claimed by the Group for the Support for Islam and Muslims JNIM.
Emo Edit filed that report. Crossing over to Nigeria, the National Association of the Nigerian Nurses and Midwives has called off its 7-day warning strike. That decision was communicated by the Minister of Health, Ali Pate, after a closed-door meeting with the executives of the National Union. While Pate disclosed that the 2 parties had reached an agreement, the leaders of the union declined to speak on the matter. Nurses and midwives under the association had commenced a warning strike on July 29, 2025, following what the union described as government failure to respond meaningfully to its 15-day ultimatum issued on July 14, 2025.
Our colleagues, the Nigerian Nurses and Midwives Association, will address the issues raised, and we're very pleased they have agreed to call off the strike, put the Nigerian patient at the center of our attention, thank the President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, for his leadership, and we encourage all health workers to adopt the same pro-social collaborative approach to lean in to iron out very long-standing issues. Some of the issues that have been raised have been on the table for many years, but we're glad to have made significant progress and that the transformation of the Nigerian health sector will continue. And for the nurses in particular, this short warning strike, I think, brought certain issues that were present. There were establishment issues which we've now addressed. I think there are lessons that have been learned on all sides, and I know for sure that there is no nurse or health worker who will be proud to stay at home when patients are suffering. There are costs to these kinds of things, so we know that no one will do this lightly.
Nigeria's Health Minister Ali Pate.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Ghana, a missing person investigation has led to the discovery of rescue of 16 West African nationals believed to be victims of human trafficking ring operating in the Greater Accra region. According to the Ghana Police Service, the victims were found in a residential compound in a suburb of Accra and are said to have been deceived with promises of overseas employment and opportunities that never exist. From Accra, WADR's Nadi Data reports.
The Accra Regional Police Command has rescued 16 individuals comprising of 12 men and 4 women suspected to have been trafficked into Ghana from Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso. The operation took place on July 24 at a residence in Top Town in English Yamamfrom in Accra. The breakthrough came after a tip-off linked to the 9-month disappearance of one Chaka Kante, a 17-year-old from Cote d'Ivoire. He was reportedly misled with claims of joining a football club in Ghana. Acting swiftly, officers accompanied the complainants to the address where they found the missing teenager along with 15 others in similar circumstances. Initial police findings suggest the victims were recruited by agents tied to an entity identified as QNet, which allegedly lured them with fake promises of high-paying jobs overseas. Authorities say all rescued individuals are currently in protective care, with arrangements underway to transfer them to the Ghana Immigration Service for further processing and repatriation. A full-scale investigation has been launched to trace and arrest those behind the trafficking operation. The police is also advising the public to remain cautious, especially when approached with unsolicited offers of employment or travel abroad. For WADR, Nadedi Tete, Accra.
Still in Ghana, the Journalists Association has warned of a nationwide media blackout on all police-related activities if urgent action is not taken to address escalating attacks on journalists. This follows over 10 reported incidents, including the assault on journalists during the Ablikuma North parliamentary rerun on July 17, as well as the reported assault of another reporter by military officers during a demolition exercise on July 30. While acknowledging that the police have charged an officer in the Ablikuma North case, the GJA stressed that justice must go beyond charges to include swift, transparent and fair prosecution. Speaking on Thursday, GJA President Albert Kwabena Dunfor described these incidents as direct attacks on democracy and press freedom.
The GJA hereby demands from the Ghana Police Service as follows. 1. A detailed update on the status of investigations into all reported attacks against journalists across the country within the past 7 months. 2. A public report on the prosecution of the police officer involved in the Ablikuma North incident, including timelines and court proceedings. 3. Clear disciplinary action and sanctions against officers or individuals who have assaulted journalists, whether in uniform or civilian attire. 4. Specific measures the police service is putting in place to prevent future attacks and to train officers on respecting press freedom and media rights. 5. The police should do the needful by writing or responding to our formal request. We have formally written to the police requesting a full investigative report on all assault cases, including but not limited to that of the Ablikuma North elections rerun. And we need that to be done. We expect these demands to be met within 7 days from the date of this statement. Failure to do so will leave us with no option but to advise all media houses across the country and our members to boycott all police-related activities and declare them as enemies of press freedom. If the police fail to adhere to our narrative, this is what we are going to do. We will boycott all police-related activities and will declare them as enemies of press freedom in the country.
Ghana Journalists Association President Albert Kwabena Dunfor. Turning attention to the Gambia, the Economic Community of West African States ECOWAS has revealed plans for the launch of its much-anticipated regional currency. According to the sub-regional institution, equal currency will be unveiled in 2027, that is 2 years from now. Addressing the just-ended maiden edition of the Sahel Governance Forum held in Banjul from July 30 to 31, ECOWAS President Dr. Omar Alieu Toure explained the reasons for the delayed introductions of the instrument. The declaration, however, signaled a renewed push for economic integration across West Africa, with leaders emphasizing the importance of a unified currency to boost trade, strengthen regional identity, and ensure financial stability.
The single currency is very much on ECOWAS's table. As we speak, the leaders have taken the decision to launch the single currency in 2027. As you know, single currency requires both the political will and certain economic fundamentals that need to be corrected. Some of those fundamentals sometimes lie beyond the control of the state. Fundamentals such as debt levels, fundamentals like deficits, the fundamentals like inflation. As you know, many of our member states, in addressing the challenges of COVID, had to go for more debt. And that, in a sense, was beyond their control. This is why the date for the launch of the single currency has been moved to 2027. The last time the Convergence Council met, they confirmed this in Abuja, that the single currency will be launched in 2027. Now, whether it will be launched by all the countries, that is the question. But the process is there and it is very much on the cards.
ECOWAS President Dr. Omar Alieu Toure. You're still listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. We are also live on Facebook at WADR English Service, as well as YouTube at WADR News. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Senegalese Prime Minister Sonko presents economic recovery plan replacing the emerging Senegal plan implemented by former President Macky Sall. Benin Republic marks its 65th independence anniversary with a grand military parade alongside the Ivorian Armed Forces. The National Association of Nurses and Midwives in Nigeria calls off its 7-day warning strike over poor working conditions. And still ahead in the news, the United Nations Children's Fund sounds alarm over an imminent cholera outbreak across 12 West and Central African nations. We do have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Liberia, the Office of the Ombudsman is advocating strong punitive action against public officers who have failed to comply with the asset declaration requirement outlined in the Code of Conduct. Councillor Finley Kanga, chairman of the Ombudsman, said over 40 lawmakers have now and more than 100 executive state officials are yet to declare their assets since taking office a year ago. Alarmed by the non-compliance, Kanga stated that violation of the mandatory assets declaration code must be met with sanction to ensure transparency. WADR's Abraham Parker has more.
Since their inauguration in 2024, 29 representatives and 12 senators have allegedly refused to declare their assets. Councillor Finley Kanga, chairman of the Ombudsman, described the lawmakers' action as a clear violation that requires attention.
Asset declaration is a key requirement of our laws and requires that all those within the three branches of government will declare their asset. We are accordingly rating the Speaker of the House of Representatives to have those representatives suspended pending the declaration of the asset.
Despite a presidential moratorium intended to facilitate compliance, around 150 executive branch officials remain in violation of the asset declaration mandate as of July 4, 2025, highlighting a persistent challenge to transparency efforts. Councillor Kanga therefore called on President Joseph Boakai and the nation's judiciary sector to address non-compliance within the executive and the judiciary arms of government. Prominent lawmakers involved include former Speaker Ellis Taylor, Bill Twari, Simeon Taylor, Boto Kanen, Zoe Manuel Pena, and Samuel Coker. Although the lawmakers have yet to officially respond to the Ombudsman's call, Liberians are concerned about whether the recommendations from the Ombudsman's office will be fully implemented and followed. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
As the rainy season sets in countries in West and Central Africa, some 80,000 children are at high risk of cholera, says the United Nations Children's Fund. Across the two regions, 12 countries are flagged ahead of the outbreak, when the UN agency says could be caused by cross-border transmission. Nigeria, from West Africa, and the Democratic Republic of Congo in Central Africa currently suffer from active cholera epidemics. The United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF, in a statement, called for urgent action and scaling up of efforts to prevent the spread of the disease across the region. Augustine Colley completes the story.
In the West African sub-region, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire and Togo, as well as Chad in the Central African region, are grappling with ongoing epidemics, while Niger, Liberia, Benin, the Central African Republic and Cameroon remain under close surveillance due to their vulnerability. Gilles Fanino, Regional Director for Western Central Africa at UNICEF, states that heavy rains, widespread flooding and the high level of displacement are fueling the risk of cholera transmission. While access to safe water and hygiene conditions are already dire, urgent action is needed, he says, stressing that this is a matter of survival. DRC, which accounts for the highest burden of the current outbreak, in July reported over 38,000 cases and 951 deaths. By the end of June, Nigeria, with the second highest burden of the disease, reported 31,109 suspected cholera cases and 86 deaths across 34 states. to scale up its emergency cholera response across the region over the next 3 months, UNICEF West and Central Africa says it urgently requires $20 million to provide critical support in health, watch and risk communication and community engagement. It is worth noting that children, especially those under 5, are particularly vulnerable to cholera due to factors like poor hygiene, lack of sanitation and safe water, and higher susceptibility to severe dehydration.
Augustine Colley filed the report. More in health news. Citizens and the health community of Burkina Faso are celebrating the first ever and successful kidney transplant. The complex surgery procedure was performed by a team of Burkinabe doctors at the Tangandogo University Hospital in Ouagadougou. The historic medical achievement was announced by the Health Minister Robert Lucien Kagogo at a press conference. For more on this, let's join Francis Boniface.
Une avancée historique.
This is a historic achievement for our country, the successful completion of the very first kidney transplants in Burkina Faso.
It was with pride that the Minister of Health, Robert Lucien Kagogo, announced this information during a press conference. Burkina Faso has successfully recorded its first kidney transplant, which was performed at the Tangandogo University Hospital. This is a source of satisfaction for urologist Dr. Borema Wedrago, who took part in this operation.
Kidney transplant surgery didn't exist in Burkina Faso, but now it's a reality, a first, and a success. It's a joy for me as a urologist who has participated in training and patient recruitment since 2024.
In 2023, the country had 2.5 million people suffering from chronic kidney disease, according to figures from the Ministry of Health. This first transplant is therefore good news for these patients. Also, according to figures from the Ministry of Health, 1,000 patients were receiving dialysis in 2023 for an estimated need of approximately 20,000 people. The same year, the country recorded 727 deaths linked to chronic kidney failure.
Francis Boniface with a report filed by WAD House Ouagadougou correspondent Martin Kaba.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest tonight is Gambia's former Vice President Fatoumata Jallow Tambajan. She was speaking to WAD House Sankole Janko in Banjul when a 2-day forum on governance and in the Sahel that brought together leaders from the sub-region CSOs and the development partners had just ended. The conference included high-level discussions and strategies, engagement aimed at understanding the security and political dynamisms of the Central Sahel region with the goal of promising or proposing realistic and sustainable reforms for future generations. Fatoumata Jallow Tambajan, a team lead of the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation, one of the organizers of the forum, stressed the role of youth and women in conflict resolution and peace building.
It's been a very important initiative. I think it's the right path to addressing issues affecting Sahel. Sahel is Africa, and we are all Sahel. You have 10 countries, including the Gambia, as a Sahelian country. What affects one of the African countries affects everybody. Peace can never be complete if one country is in turmoil. So this solidarity that has been initiated by the United Nations Development Program in concert, in partnership with the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation and also IDA, is a very important initiative. It has brought in so many African talents from different disciplines, talking about issues with focus on how to move the Sahel into a new path of governance, architecture, and also a public trust, accountability, good governance, and also prosperity.
From a woman point of view, you witnessed the discussion on women leadership. What more would you have to say to that now?
Women, we cannot leave women behind. 52% of the African population and also youth. This is a fundamental human capital that doesn't need to be behind. The reason why we are where we are today in terms of crisis is because development has not put people at the center of the process. Development is for the people. So we need to design programs, policies and programs that would empower everybody, every citizenship. And development must bring people at the center so that the decisions that are made for the people, in the benefit and interest of the people, for the welfare of the people and for the well-being of people. So women are very important and they're playing a key role, especially in all the areas, be it peace, be it security, be it governance. And they make a difference because women have maternal instinct, they have the talent and ingenuity, and they also have the commitment to really uplift Africa to be the Africa we want.
We've seen that, in the Sahel region where insecurity is really a problem, women are the ones who normally bear the brunt. As a woman, what message would you have for regional leaders insofar as governance and inclusive women is concerned?
I have always championed the inclusion of women and youths. As a mother, as a professional, and also as a thinker, I believe that women and youth are the capital, human capital that is needed for development. So we all have to work together. The responsibility of regional, either national leaders, political leaders, be it parliamentarians, be it civil society, wherever leadership is, we should all work together in ensuring that we have good governance, that we build a path of prosperity where we share the prosperity, where natural resources, in view of the climatical change that is happening in the world, that resources are managed, resources are utilized, and value is added so that it benefits the people of the countries we belong to, through industrialization, through export, and minimizing, of course, imports so that we can have more revenue to build the country, our countries in terms of development.
Fatoumata Jallow Tambajan is the former Vice President of the Gambia. And anytime you hear that whistle, it tells you that it's time for sports. And Augustine Colley joins me. Augustine, what's the latest in the world of sports?
Well, good evening, Chris. We begin with basketball, where the six-time champions, the Tigresses of Nigeria, have advanced to the semi-finals of the 2025 Women's Afro-Basket Tournament by defeating Cameroon 83-47 and keeping their title defense campaign alive. The victory extends their unbeaten run in Africa to 27, dating back to 2015, while moving them closer to a record fifth title in a row. Only Senegal has achieved Nigeria's current feat of 4. Now, in football, the Confederation of African Football (CAF) has unveiled the new trophy for the Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship Pamoja 2024 in a reveal that features 3 of the continent's most celebrated football icons: Victor Wanyama of Kenya, Dennis Oyanga of Uganda, and Michel Ngasa of Tanzania. The announcement comes ahead of the tournament's much anticipated kick-off with the Total Energies Chan Pamoja 2024 set to be co-hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania from the 2nd to the 30th of August this year.
Nigeria is really in form. Like they have been everything, from women's African Cup of Nations through to basketball. Imo must be a very happy man by now.
Including Abdullahi too with Francis Boniface. No, but on overall, I think Nigeria is doing
well. Nigeria and Ghana, we are good friends.
Yeah, although Ghana is not doing well, so no problem. Let's give it out for Nigeria for now.
Right. Thank you very much, Augustine. I have no other words to say. Well, and with that, we've come to the end of this evening's edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Fali Luso and Shekanjai for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook at WADR English Service. I am Christopher Teacher. Good evening and enjoy the rest of our broadcasts.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County.
Radio Kaigama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your